Hello Nigerians and netizens across the world. Welcome to another interesting episode of Talking Points. With me in the studio are
Madeno Tangishi.
And I am Natafida Suleiman. You're welcome.
Nigerians have found themselves in a very unpalatable situation of insecurity. So many citizens are no longer feeling safe at home because of the dicey security situation we found ourselves. No one is sleeping with his two eyes closed. When it started, it looked as if it was just a northeast problem. But right now, everyone in the country is feeling it. These are the things we want to talk about on the Talking Point today. After several decades of independence, Nigerians are no longer safe in their homes, are still being attacked, goods scattered away, farm products looted, their sons and daughters kidnapped and raped by some marauding armed men, and our security setup seems outwitted with no solution inside. At the height of the Boko Haram insurgency, it only seemed like a Maiduguri or Northeast problem then. But with President Muhammadu Buhari came herdsmen unleashed on some specific communities in Northeast Nigeria and some North Central states. These attacks went on unabated in places like Plateau, Benue, Nasarrawa, Numan region of Adamawa state. Later on still, under the Buhari-led government, these attacks escalated to northwest states of southern Kaduna, Niger state, Zamfara, Benue, among other states in the country. Although the killing campaigns and the killers were never named, as they were largely referred to as bandits in the northwest, herdsmen in the northeast, unknown gunmen in the north central and other parts of the country. The nature of the killings, however, speak volumes for themselves, and many victims have testified to who their abductors and killers were. It's just as if Nigerians are experiencing another era of slave trade. Nigerians are now hardly safe in their homes as bandits and kidnapping overlords could easily whisk you away, and the price of your life and freedom have to be negotiated and haggled upon between the new taskmasters on one hand and our government and family members on the other hand.
Actually, all Nigerians are terrified by things that are happening today. Kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, and what have you. And all these things have the coloration of religious sentiments.
That's what
sometimes it is simply commercial, stealing people for ransom. And this has actually been a very big problem for the country because I would say probably it started seriously from the Niger Delta thing, then movement, Maso, what. Then we started witnessing bombings from all over. Finally, the Boko Haram that became sort of a menace and even a war within a country itself.
Exactly, but you see, the situation is unfortunate, But before we dive so much into our discussion, let's talk about a little bit about football and what happened during the weekend. I can see Mr. Billy is smiling. I woke up one morning and I was saying 2-0, 2-0, and I remember the excitement of Atlanta 96, where I just had to sit in front of the camera with the television and watching Khan Wonko while Charlie West and his people playing. So run us by it. What's happening?
Yes, right now we are all experiencing what we call AFCON. That's African Cup of Nations. I know what it means. The African Cup of Nations, and it has been one of the most interesting Cup of Nations I've ever witnessed. Actually, because there were too many surprises. Those countries that we used to call minnows, underdogs in football.
Minnows in football as well.
Yes, of course. But actually, the game has changed drastically. All surprises have been unleashed. We have seen very wonderful players. I don't know whether it has something to do with a lot of Africans maybe participating in other leagues. But the class of football now played is completely different. So you cannot underrate anybody.
Oh, really?
Nigeria started off playing a draw with Cape Verde, a country that we never thought would come this far.
Oh, yes. So in fact, when Nigeria started, everybody thought Nigeria was not good because we had one-man draw with Cape Verde and everybody has written Cape Verde off. But as the competition progressed, everyone saw that they came prepared. And so other countries like Namibia, Equatorial Guinea, and just name them. Everybody came ready and they were lashing out all the big guns. South Africa that was beating 2-0 at their opening games. Egypt, who has at least the highest number of AFCON winners, was punished throughout their group stage, and in fact only Senegal had a very perfect score qualifying to the next round.
But it is very unfortunate that the next stage, Senegal, when it came to penalty shootouts, they lost out. But so I feel for them. But there is one interesting thing to that. Yes. Did you know that one of their players, when interviewed, said that guy cannot go back to their country immediately? You can see how fanatical people can be about the guy that missed the penalty. They said they are very sure if he gets back immediately, somebody would have said, will try his life.
It understates the fact that football is not played on paper.
No, it's not.
Yes, because, take for example, Senegal, who are the defending champions, cannot defend the cup again, they're out. Egypt, who was the finalist, is out. But the most interesting is that Ivory Coast struggled to qualify, and they are the ones that ended up beating Senegal.
And Ivory Coast is one of those teams that was favored because it was a strong team.
Yes.
Next, they are the host, so they are playing on their home turf. So everybody expected them to give everybody a run for his money. That is why when we drew with Cape Verde, a lot of Nigerians were afraid that how do we handle Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire.
Why does he debate?
Okay, yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Talking about football with men is actually.
We talk about. So, what is your thought about the general officiating of the
general officiating? I think that game with Senegal during the first half. They did not do justice to Senegal. Yeah. No, in the second half.
Yes.
Because there was a case of Mane, one of my favorite players, in fact. He fouled somebody. If I were the referee, I would have given him a red card straight away. But I don't know why. Maybe because he's a very big figure in African football. They decided to just overlook it, I can't say. But remember that even Nigeria's game, that was officiated by one Algerian woman, was not fair to us at all.
Don't even get me started on that because I think I watched a little bit of what she was doing, even though I don't have a full understanding of what she was doing on the field, but I saw her raises of flags and bringing another one and running all over the field. Do you understand? Now, talking about women, a lady has been in court with another male contender in the just concluded 2023 election, but we're talking about Amadou Morifinturi and Aisha Tudahiru Binani, which the Supreme Court dismissed the case today. They have been in court ever since Hudu declared her the winner of the election. She's been contesting the way to appeal court, it was dismissed, the Supreme Court. So what's your take as a journalist, Mr. Radin?
Well, let me tell you, from the word go, it was a futile attempt. Because from the word go, everybody knew what happened was a farce. Hudu announcing that result, I remember I was also very close observing what was happening. He said everybody should reconvene at 11 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, he appeared there with a small crew of people and with connivance, probably with NTA. Even an OB van was at her house waiting for her to make an acceptance speech. So, with all these things happening, you can see that there was a big plan to rob the people of Adamawa of their mandate. The car moved right from INEC office, passed through the small gate around GT, straight to the airport, and then yes, he did not enter. He did not enter through the gate. And then, oh no, but did you see the paper he was holding in his hand? Does it look like?
Actually, we were there.
He should have even bought an exercise book. It would have made more sense. But a very rough piece of paper, and then he just wrote it, and even the votes coming from Numan have not been submitted. That is those places where they have this.
There were only 13 local governments at the time that result was started circulating online. My editor had to call me that she's seeing one result here. that what do I make of it? I said, right now there are only 13 local governments that have been collected, so there is no
possibility of announcing a result.
No way the entire result will have been available. But I think we're talking about Nigerian elections. This futile case has come to a logical conclusion that many of us thought it will lead to. Because there was no case.
This is one of the few instances in Nigeria that I see some judges.
There is nothing to pursue. This is the most outrageous case of election tampering and malpractice in the whole world.
No, it is one of them. What of Nkano? When they said 160,000 votes.
It was a court process that deducted it. But the election official to come unilaterally and decide to announce results without consultation, which is not even statutorily, according to INEC, it's not even his job to make this announcement. He went ahead and did it, and democracy. There is some kind of shame.
But it seems up to now there is no attempt actually to punish him, because most of these people that participated in some of these frauds continue to move around freely. But there is one thing that we must also accept, that for the first time, it is this 2003 elections, 2023 elections, that we had cases where the ruling party at the center was not just collecting the votes anyhow. You know, in the past, once you have anything to do with the Supreme Court or whatever it is, the party in power will collect it. But we have seen the case of Kano, the vote returned to Gida. We have seen the case of Adamawa, and maybe some other instances, House of Reps, House of the Senate, and other things where people have been justly given what
I think a clear case of note is the issue of Plateau State, where at the appeal courts, most of the state house of assembly members were evicted by the courts. But at the Supreme Court, the governor was upheld. His ruling was upheld because it was the same issue.
It is the same
on the same issue that they were not the legitimate candidates of the PDP.
Are you surprised they say that the law is an ass? The law is an ass.
Well, that is quite interesting, some events that we've been having. But one thing stands out in this Binani and Amadou Umaru's interest case. Justice was served. That is all I had to say. You know, and that is, we need to give the credit to the Supreme Court, because they did justice to that. From onset, I'd always maintained that there was no case. You know, because when you look at the papers, you realize that on the basis for which they went to court, they also violated every single one of it. So this will be some of the conversation we'll continue on. This is Talking Point. Join us shortly after the break. Welcome back. This is Talking Point. If you are just joining us, do not forget to like, to share, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Before we went on the break, we were discussing a little bit about the Supreme Court ruling on Aisha Binani and Amadou Umaru Finchuri's case, which has been pending. But today, the Supreme Court has done justice to it and led the matter finally to case. But the crux of our matter today is talking about insecurity, where we are seeing another era of slave trade, which we'll be continuing our discussion right now with Mr. Billy. Recently, we have been having a lot of comments and agitation from Uwarajabe and another community in Adamawa State, where there is an alarm. There's an influx of Almajiris from Borno and Gombe State and Taraba State into the community. So it has increased a little bit of rape, burgling of houses, sugar boys activities and all that. What do you have to say about that?
In the north, in northern Nigeria, I think the last the statistics I saw by international organization, Militia, we have the largest out-of-school children in the country. I think in Nigeria we have about 13 million out-of-school children.
13 million?
Yes, so that is a large number of these out-of-school children are in the northeast Nigeria. So it's not surprising when you begin to hear this very particular issue. And these have been a major issue. We have been sitting on the time bomb, and we have failed to address these issues, and we are thinking by some kind of miracle we will not have security problem.
Actually, I think that we are not even approaching the thing properly. Because my observation is that most of those Almajiris you find are non-Nigerians. I don't know from where they import them. Do they have parents at all? Remember that when you talk about 13 million out of school children, I assume that out of this, the Almajiris that I see around are mainly boys. Which means we have an army, a potential army of jobless people, uneducated, that we'll have to contend with in the next few years. That Islam, I'm not a Muslim, but I don't think that Islam says that you can just allow your son, your 7-year-old child, to go wandering with somebody without feeding, adequate provisions for feeding or accommodation. So, trying to give it a religious coloration, I think is wrong. Most of our schools today have facilities where your child can learn whatever religion you hold dear to your heart. But how can you...
The brewing insecurities that we've been having over the years, I can vividly remember I've been in the north for quite a while, right from 2009, Mr. Billy, when the issue of insurgency started in Maiduguri, Borno State. Like it was like a faction, with Mohammed Yusuf, and before you know what was going on, it sprang around the country. And now, especially in Abuja, we had a breaking news today that 2 sisters were abducted and 30 million was demanded for ransom. That is just few days after the other cases were done. We've had series of these cases, especially this January alone. So what are we talking about? Are our family members now a means of exchange? Is it another era of strength? Because I know we've been reading it in the books, we've been taught in school, that during the era of slave trade, someone will come and forcibly force someone out of his comfort zone and then exchange for money. And that's exactly what, for God's sake, in this era, how will you expect the family to raise 30 million naira for a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old daughter that was taken out?
So these are the situations that we're having in this country. It's as if we are having a repeat of the era of slavery. Though our colonial masters have gone, but right now there are gunmen that are holding us hostage and then the price of our freedom or who you are have to be negotiated. They are haggling about it. In fact, there are some leaked audio that are suggestive of conversation, negotiation on price about your life and your humanity. So these are, I think the entire import of this conversation is that government we need to have a proactive measure in addressing the security situation of this country. How about the issue of state police having resisted by our government at all levels? What do you think about it? I think it's something that
everybody will have to defend himself. And if you're not allowed to own a gun, what do you do against 4 bandits that come with guns? Let me give you another example. You see, right from the time those 230 girls were kidnapped from Chibok, and no action. There was practically no action. How is it possible that you could move 230 girls in different vehicles and all our surveillance systems, all our security networks are not able to detect exactly where those girls are located?
The problem of addressing security issues in Nigeria, is it a lack of political will to address
I think it is lack of
underfunding of the
it is lack of the will.
To this very particular conversation, another issue that I think Nigeria should have explored is the issue of installing CCTV cameras on our streets. Because the issue in 2024 to say people just disappear. No tracing, no track, no video evidence, nothing. It's
and they use phone calls for conversation. What about our NIN? Why were we subjected to do NIN registration?
Shouldn't we have CCTV cameras on our streets? On every corner? These are some of the things that we can afford. Nigeria has the money to do these things. Why don't we do that?
How much does it cost after all to put a CCTV camera? It doesn't need much. So, continuously, there are certain things that actually our government has failed to do. If they take the right measures, we'll be able to control all this kind of criminality. Because how many kidnappers have you had captured? How many of these bandits? We hear Turji, all over Turji will sit down and talk.
Measures to be done by our security agencies, because come to think of it, if you were the one at home and then all of a sudden you found yourself somewhere else that is very unpleasant, your family members have been called upon to get some money to release you, how will you feel? We need proactive measures in this country because we cannot continually live in fear. Like the Federal Capital Territory, which is supposed to be the most secured of all places in this country, is going through a lot of heartaches and turmoil. Mr. Billy, run us by the statistics that we have.
We have some statistics that I think Nigerians would like to see about the issue of insurgency and security in the country. This is the global economic cost of terrorism between 2009 and 2019. It's in billions. 2014 was the year in which about 115 billion was expended, was incurred in terms of costs, what insurgency costs the world at that very particular time. And then number of terrorist attacks in African countries between 2007 and 2019. Nigeria ranks among the top most attacked countries with about 4,383 times just between 2007 and 2019. Nigeria ranks that high on the list. The groups responsible for terrorist attacks across the world, Boko Haram is almost among the top terrorist group that has caused a lot of havoc on Nigeria. I think the top among those groups is the Taliban, and then followed by Boko Haram, which is a Nigerian-based.
Nigeria is always coming out.
And then terrorism index in African countries as at 2022. Burkina Faso tops, Somalia follows, Mali, and then Nigeria is 42. So generally speaking, when we are talking about issues of even the most terrorized country, Nigeria is still among it. Anything, when you just mention the most terrorized people, Nigeria is top. You just find it between first, second, and third,
maximum.
Anything when you talk about the most terrorized people, the countries with the highest number of attacks, the number of even those about 115 billion that the whole world suffered from those terrorist attacks. Nigeria contributed a lot to it. Because it indicated that it was creative.
And to think that we consider ourselves a religious nation,
yes,
with churches all over, mosques in every corner, in almost every house, and yet this is what obtains. Very unfortunate.
Well, if you are just joining the conversation, we have been talking about a matter that affects every citizen of this country, another era of slave trade, which is the insurgency. So you can share your comments, tell us what you feel. How is your environment? Are you safe? What do you think the government should do in concerning this issue of insurgency? Don't forget, this is Talking Points. And on our YouTube channel, and let us know what your community feels like. Are you safe? Do you like the way security agencies are doing their security work? So let us know what you feel about it. Until we come again your way with a fresh episode of the show, I am Mutafe Suleiman.
Radenu Madenu Tanchi.
And I am Billy Graham. Please let's keep talking. This is Talking Points. Drop your comments, let us know what you think about everything over here. Have a blessed day.